Hello, everyone. Welcome to Talking Reds. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about the best players of the season, the top 5 players this season, according to myself, Reese, and Naj. We're going to come up with our own top 3. We're going to work out the top 5 collectively. We're going to come up with our own top 3 individually, and hopefully come to a conclusion of a top 5, and certainly who hits top spot. Right. Let's start off, boys, by giving one person each that has to be top 5. So if Reece says one person, I can't say that person. Naj gives another person. I can't give that person either. So Reece, you want to start us off? Kick us off for one person that has to be top 5 players of the season.
Gravenberch for me. Gravenberch has to be top 5. I think based on what he produced first half of the season, it's kind of like a steam train. Obviously we weren't really expecting him, especially because of the position he got put into in the 6. We weren't sure if he could necessarily play that position. Most of the fans were probably quite concerned, but it was a masterstroke from Slot, and Gravenberch stepped up to the plate. Obviously, he slowed down second half of the season, but that's understandable because he hasn't really had that rest or rotation. But yeah, I think he 100% goes in top 5 for me.
Would you say that his ability to adapt to that CDM position saved the season?
I think, yeah, that was very important because I was worried. I was thinking, we haven't addressed the 6 area. What are we going to do? And we saw how he was the season before, how open we was. So I do think he played a major part in us winning the league this season, without doubt.
Now, did you see anything of this Gravenberch last season? Obviously, I watched him at Ajax a couple of times. Didn't really see much at Bayern, but Ajax, and I said I wrote an article on him when he was at Ajax. I thought this guy is absolutely the kind of player I'd love in my midfield. Did you say anything like he could be a 6 last season at all at Liverpool?
No, I'll be honest with you. I've seen that he could probably. It's a weird one with Gravenberch because last season when we signed him, I thought, there's a player there you can clearly see there's a player in him, and obviously had a bit of an unfortunate time at Bayern. Obviously, he wasn't getting ahead of certain players and stuff like that, which is fine. But yeah, Ajax days, he had nearly 100 appearances by the time he left, which is crazy. I mean, he's only 22 now, isn't he? So. But yeah, like Reece said, it's a bit of a masterstroke really by Slot. Like he sort of used the physical attributes of what Gravenberch holds in like the pace, power, technique, and he's sort of used that to his advantage in a way that we probably didn't all see. We didn't know him to be like a tackler, but he's got like really good numbers in interceptions. But obviously, I think that mainly probably comes down to positioning and again, off his physical attributes of like him being powerful, pacey, and stuff like that. I mean, I can't disagree. I mean, if we didn't have Gravenberch this season in that role, I really don't think we'd have got anywhere near winning the league. We probably would have finished like a lot of people predicted at 3rd at the start of the season. But I think even an absolute revelation in there, to be honest. I still do think we need to sign another midfielder though, because that rotation with him needs to be done. Because he's been knackered since February, you can tell.
Yeah.
But before then, before February, it was unbelievable. Like he was just a machine, but no rotation. So you can't expect him to keep them levels up for 50, 60 games a season. It's just not possible.
I think Gravenberch has been single-handedly the reason why we got away. We're not getting a 6 in summer, and I think the reason why I love midfielders like Gravenberch is his ability to play across 6, 8, 10. I think he could play 10 as well, and that's. I think every midfielder should be able to do that. Every midfielder should be able to have the nous to play 6, 8, 10 because you should have every attribute of playing midfield. You should be able to pass, you should be able to tackle, you should be able to shoot. But he also should be able to adapt to a different game. And Gravenberch has everything and more in terms of midfielder that you can just play him along across all 3. And that it is not a complete midfielder, but is close to being a complete midfielder in terms of that he can play across the front, the whole 3 of midfield. But I think if we go next season like Naj, we do definitely need either like rotation or someone else that can sit there and play a different way of playing 6, how Slot wants to play 6. Because there's still times I think Gravenberch is culpable for leaving lots of gaps, but like I said, he's not a natural 6. So there might be times like that. So he definitely does need competition next year. Right, Naj, What's your player that has to be in top 5?
Salah.
I don't know. He's gonna pick the obvious one.
I don't know about
that's
that. I mean,
the isn't it?
he might sneak 7th on that one. 7th.
A smile still that he's gonna pick Salah.
Not Nunes above him. No, I thought it would have been Nunes.
Go for it.
Tough, innit? I'll say not Salah because I think that's the obvious answer, isn't it?
Go on, let's go to Salah. The Salah, and then we could debate the other two.
Yeah, I mean we'll go Salah. I mean, he is the reason we won the league. That's just the absolute.
If you say the obvious ones, then we can actually debate the other 2 spots. Then, yeah, go on.
Yeah, I think he's just best. He's been the best player in the world this season. I mean, yeah, there's enough said. Don't need to say anything else. It's just he's been Salah. He's been Salah, but better Salah. I think, like, to have Salah's in like almost his 3rd prime now, which is just strange for a player. Really, you never really see it much. Obviously Ronaldo had a couple of primes and stuff like that, but in the Premier League, you don't really necessarily see a player have like 2 primes. I think they had like the season he comes to about 2018 prime, then he had like the prime when we was struggling in the league when we had all the injuries. I think that was another prime he hit there. Like, he carried us on his back, really, didn't he? To get us to that third place. And then, so that's probably about 2022. And then, this season he's going to take another prime. So I think, to get a player that just keeps going into prime but doesn't drop off in between them primes is crazy. And I think that he's the reason why I've done so well. And, I feel I'm obviously buzzing with the Premier League. Like, I can't say it's been great, but, I feel like we could have won something else as well because he's been that good. But unfortunately, the Newcastle game really sticks in my mind. Like, I don't think anyone was good that day, really, in particular. But, when he does have an off game or someone plays well against him, the others haven't stepped up, which has sort of been the issue. Like, he's that good, the others rely on him, which I think next season we need to not do that as much. And I think we'll be a bit more successful in terms of probably maybe winning more trophies, because I feel when we had Mane and Salah and Firmino, it was sort of shared, wasn't it, between them? And I think that's why we were so successful in winning multiple trophies and stuff like that. So I think, he's the obvious player of the season, I think. But if anyone
I think that highlights his talent even more, though. The fact that we have to rely on him so much in terms of attacking output, and we've won the league because of it. That shows the season he's had. That we are heavily reliant on one player in terms of attacking wise, and we've won the league because of it. That shows how good he has been this season, and the output has improved. And again, his playmaking skills. I think another masterstroke from Slot as well, because he said, "Look, I'm not defending anymore. I'm saving my energy for all attacking ability. I'm coming inside more. I'm playing balls that are he's playing different football now in terms of being more of a playmaker as well. And he has stopped getting back as much. He still gets back, by the way, because I remember that was at the City game when we absolutely beat them away 2-0, and Salah was absolutely immense defensively.
Yeah.
But he will pick and choose when he goes back now, rather than having to do it all the time and saving his energy.
Yeah.
Reece, how much credit does Slot get for Salah's season?
I think he gets a lot of credit. Obviously, we already know Salah's a phenomenal player. What I like what he's done with Salah this season is he's got him to track back more. If you noticed in certain games and stuff, he was kind of helping defensively, whereas under Klopp, he never really had that requirement. So I would give Slot the credit in terms of that. He kind of made him work more, and there has been times he has took him off, not as much as I would like, but there has been times where he's took him off. And Slot wants to play every minute because he wants to constantly score goals or break records and whatnot. But I think Salah's had a similar season to Gravenberch. I think his first half of the season was a lot stronger than his second. Obviously, you can look at it a few ways. When he's not performing, other players do need to step up, similar to what Naj said, that the load was shared more when it was Bobby and Mane. But then at the same time, can we really compare to that? Obviously, that's what we're used to comparing to, but can we really expect to... I don't see us getting a Mane anytime soon. I think it was quite rare to have those two. Bobby potentially if you were to get Alvarez, but obviously you got to kind of wait and see. But I do think second half of the season he has slowed down. And that's why I would like some more rotation there, or for Liverpool to bring someone in of quality who thinks that they're not kind of blown away, that thinking, oh, I'm not going to play because of Salah. More someone that thinks they actually back themselves and more take the opportunities when they come in. So it should be interesting this summer. I don't think they will get someone, but it would be nice if they were able to get someone to give them some stern competition.
Do you think it just needs more help up front?
I think Gakpo has stepped up at times. Before he got injured, I think he was stepping up, getting goals. That's the only one I could say. Diaz has had his moments. Obviously, he's quite purple patch. He's had his moments where he'll score a few goals, and when it was working quite well in the false nine, and then it kind of dried up, and then he went back to left mid. Left attacking forward. But yeah, it doesn't help that he doesn't necessarily have someone who's at the consistent same level as him. But the only person, like I said, is probably Gakpo, who's at times before he got injured was stepping up and getting crucial goals.
I don't think anyone can ever downplay Salah's impact this season on what he's had, because the fact that he's in Ballon d'Or talks tells you everything. And I think, for me, when people talk about Yamal being the best in the world, he might be the best player in the world in terms of what he's doing and what he can do. But in terms of this season, I don't think anyone's had a better season than Salah. And that is what really should be the Ballon d'Or should be about. Not the best player in the world. Otherwise, the best player in the world would actually win it every year. I think it's about who has the best season, who has the best year. That for me has been Mohamed Salah. And if he continues it into next year, is it Ballon d'Or about November, December in it time? No, end of the year. So if he continues that, I can't see anyone beating Salah. And if anyone's going to beat me, it's just because they've won Champions League. Like Dembele, for example, if he does it, if he wins it, something like that. So yeah, Salah is definitely top five and probably number one if honest. But we're going to talk about number one in just a second. So my pick for the obvious one in the top five, I think there's two obvious ones, but I'm going to go for the most obvious one. Virgil van Dijk's a non-mover again. Virgil van Dijk, as like Mohamed Salah, funnily enough, has earned a new contract the way he's played this season. He is back to Virgil from the past. And the reason why we put him in the highest of high debates with the best Premier League defenders of all time, because this guy makes the game look like it's a training session constantly. Yes, he makes mistakes. Every defender makes mistakes. I used to see Rio Ferdinand make a mistake every single week.
Mm-hmm.
But Virgil van Dijk is the reason why we are challenging for big competitions. Attacks win your games, defense win your titles. Virgil van Dijk wins his titles, and that's what he has done again this season. This guy is a colossal, and for me, I've not seen a defender more complete in this league, and this is why he is in the debates with others. Yes, longevity might have not had as many seasons, but he is starting to have more seasons. You know, by the injury, which is going to knock everyone. Came back a little bit stuttery, but since last season, I said to last season, this season, I think he's back to his absolute best, and this season certainly. And again, being the first Dutch player to win, to lift the Premier League title as captain, I think that is absolutely deserved. Now, just a quick one on Virgil. What do you think of Virgil this year?
I mean, he's attacker's worst nightmare, isn't it? You can still see they don't want to go near him, and he's just the thing for me with Virgil, and I think a lot of people have been saying this in recent times. Like, he's never really had a nailed down partner as like a centre back partnership, and I feel like you put anyone sort of next to him, they seem to be good. You know, Kanate this season's been phenomenal. And I mean, Matip in the past has been phenomenal as well. Like, I think very underrated Matip in the pairing them two had together. But I think, you know, he's 33 now, Van Dijk. He's still, he doesn't look, I mean, with defenders, you sort of think like, you know, the prime's a little bit later than like most positions, isn't it? Like, you know, John Terry and all that, they were like still very good at like 33. You know, Thiago Silva, he was still brilliant at like 38, 39. You know, he's played. But I look at it now with Van Dijk, and he's got 2 more years after Liverpool. May have more after that. We don't know. But he just like epitomizes what it is to play for. I think what he shows, like the leadership and stuff like that. Like I think everyone just looks up to him, and he does everything right. He leads by example, and like he has, like you say, he has the odd blip, but I mean, social media didn't exist that much back in the day. Rio Ferdinand, John Terry, Vidic, and all that. And I think he does one little mistake and it's everywhere. I see that video of Perisic about 3 seasons ago where he slipped and Perisic went past him.
It's magnified.
And then, like, I just think he's just, he's the most consistent. He's almost like if you made a player like Salah at being consistent at what they do. Van Dijk is consistent at defending. Like he's consistent at being top of the game every single time. And yeah, I think he's phenomenal. I think one thing with Van Dijk is probably not related to Liverpool. I think you see it with the Dutch team. Like they don't have that many like massively big talents. The Dutch team at the minute, they're sort of like becoming better. If you know what I mean, like the Dutch team. And
they're like upcoming talents, aren't they? I get that. It's like the new generation sort of thing.
Yeah, it's like a new generation. And Van Dijk, it was his first tournament last one he played. Sorry, the World Cup was the first one he played, which is quite crazy because he was like 30, 29. And like you just see like even with the Dutch team, they look up to him like and it just looks like he's the leader. And that's what I think a big thing of it is with Van Dijk. His leadership is phenomenal, as well as he plays. So I think him, Salah are definitely like up for debate for who is being number one this season, I would say.
See, we talk about Slot's influence on Salah, Slot's influence on Gravenberch. Van Dijk, he's not really needed Slot's influence. It's just Van Dijk, isn't he?
Yeah, not so much. I would say, like I said, he's grown so much into the role in terms of captain. Because I remember, it was a bit mixed. I think a lot of people were happy he was captain, but some people were wondering whether he would necessarily be able to fill that position as well, because Henderson was a great leader and whatnot. But in terms of Van Dijk as a player, can't really speak too highly of him. Obviously, a lot of people are more salty and jealous because he plays for us, and they'll say little things like the lack of trophies he's won. How can he be the best defender in the Premier League? But when you listen to most defenders talk, top defenders, they can't speak highly enough of Van Dijk. And you got to remember,
attack as well. Attackers talk about him all the time.
Attackers too, and you got to remember, we live in an era where the other defenders back in the day, social media wasn't around, so their mistakes weren't highlighted. Similar, where if he makes one mistake, it's scrutinized, it's highlighted like it's the worst thing in the world. And you got to bear in mind what he came back from, what kind of injury he came back from, for him to get even close to that level again. A lot of the time, players are never the same with that kind of injury, so we ain't really got any weaknesses. I think he's one of the key players. He's another one where we wouldn't have won the league if we didn't have him at the back, kind of orchestrating. He's so calm, relaxed, and anyone who plays alongside him, he makes them better. Like I said, you don't really see Van Dijk hitting the ground, sliding. He kind of just plays at his own pace. I kind of see it I describe him as like a Rolls Royce in terms of cars. But I'm just happy he's able to extend and he's going to be here for another couple of seasons, so we can try and pick up some more trophies.
Van Dijk was that signing that turned us from top 4 contenders to title contenders. And I remember actually, I didn't really use Twitter much back there. On Facebook, I put a Facebook status about him. I think he was going to be a game changer. And even like he was laughed at of how much money he bought for, wasn't he? And he's pretty much made up for that 5 times over. How much money he's bought for, and this is why I don't look into fees too much when it comes to signings. Even like if I buy a dud, that's too much money, and I don't really look into fees too much. As long as they prove it on the pitch, for me, I don't care how much they cost. And Van Dijk's an absolute proof of that. We paid 75 million for him, and look at it. It's for me the best, most complete centre back in Premier League history. But yeah, Virgil van Dijk, another incredible season for him, and him and Salah probably are fighting for the top spot. It's going to be a close one. We're going to decide that in just a second. So, right, the other 2 spots, we need to just throw names out here.
I got one.
Go on.
McAllister.
Alexis, yeah. I think we're all going to agree on that one as well.
I think his impact goes under the radar because of how much of a great season Gravenberch has kind of had. Out of our three midfielders, I think he's the best midfielder in terms of on the ball, everything really. I think people don't realize as well in terms of what he's achieved in terms of obviously he won the World Cup with Argentina. A lot of people who don't know football just be like they won that because of Messi, but he played a pivotal role in that.
He was massive in it, yeah.
He was a key player at Brighton when he was playing alongside Caicedo, and then when he's come to Liverpool, he's just slotted in, and he's one of the main reasons we've won. We've won the league. He can use both feet. His passing's very good. Like I said, I would like to see him play a bit further forward in the 10. Obviously, we'll see what happens next season, but I just think if you look how much he gets fouled and whatnot as well, just how he dictates the play, technically, just on another level. And like I said, just over the moon that he's our player. That the amount we paid for him, like I said, is an absolute steal. Because if we were to just say, for example, if you were to say what he's worth now, for me, he's easily 80 to 100 million. But yeah, I just think he's a top talent, and I just think it goes under the radar. I don't think he gets a lot of the credit because he just goes about it so smoothly. Even when he speaks, quite humble, but you can tell how he speaks about playing for Liverpool. He's like proud to be playing for Liverpool. I just think he's a great player.
We're never going to go back to Brighton again. There's no chance we can go back to Brighton again for the next 30 years.
No,
Because they'll just add McAllister tax on every single transfer that we want to do. But yeah, McAllister is just for me is the epitome of why midfielders have this. He's not the biggest of guys. He's not the most athletic of guys, but he has this. He outsmarts every single person on that pitch most of the time. He is the epitome of a complete midfielder, just like Gravenberch a little bit, but I think he's even more so better than certain things. Gravenberch is better on half turn, better at certain things, driving forward the ball. But as a whole midfielder, Alexis McAllister is our best midfielder, and I think you said there he goes under the radar. I think it's because Gravenberch was that good the first half season, so he was seen as that. And then Soboslai like a pale patch where he was the outstanding one, but McAllister's been slightly doing it underneath. Like it's just been 7, 8 every single week, and in recent weeks he's gone up to like 9s, 10s. Now, do you think in this top 5 debate right now, we are going to go narrow it down to in order what we're going to do?
Yeah.
Do you think McAllister has more of a shout than Gravenberch for top 3?
Tough one, to be honest. I would say it's a close one. The only thing I would say probably slightly spikes a little bit more towards Gravenberch is the fact of the complete change of position in sort of his role in the team. Whereas McAllister, like, it was good last season as well. You know, I mean, McAllister did play a lot as a deeper lying midfielder, obviously last season. But I feel like this season he's been given a little tiny bit more of a free roam to do what he wants. I love McAllister. I think he's so good. I think he's elite. I think he's phenomenal. But I think just in terms of how good Gravenberch was for the start of the season, I think he'd probably just edge it for that. But McAllister, like, I mean, if you used to say McAllister was ahead of Gravenberch, I probably wouldn't even disagree with you because I think that, you know, they both had very, very good seasons. But yeah, I think just for the start, the first, you know, up until, you know, February, I think Gravenberch was like, he was outstanding. No, he didn't really drop below an 8. I wouldn't say, you know, he was everywhere. But yeah, it's a hard one to say, isn't it? To be honest, but
Right, 5th spot then. So, well, not 5th spot, but 5th player certainly. We'll decide on spots in a minute. But the 5th player, this one, I think it's a trickier one.
That's
than anything because everyone's had the moments. I think Alisson Becker's had a very good season, but he missed a lot of it. Konate was sensational first 2 months. Konate was better than Van Dijk for the first 2-3 months of the season. But then he dropped off a little bit. He had an injury as well. Soboslai started coming good in like a month, 2 months maybe. Of a very good purple patch, but it was just a purple patch. Diaz again, purple patches. Start of the season, end of the season, middle shit. Gakpo on and off. I think he started brilliantly, and then he went off a little bit again, and he got his injury. Now, do you want to throw one name out that could be potential for top 5? We'll talk about it. See if
I think it's quite an obvious one, I'm probably going to say. But I think I think without him, not just for the season, we wouldn't have won anything, I don't think. And it's Alisson. I think he's just, Kelleher was really good when he filled in from the season. But just, the games, some games you watch Alisson in and you think like, we've got got backs against the wall and that sort of thing, or there's like a big moment in that game where he saves it or he comes out and he gets it. And, I think for that alone this season, Alisson is probably going to, like McAllister really, gone under the radar in sort of terms of he's not been the biggest of players in the sort of like limelight this season. But when he's been called upon, he's been fantastic. And, I don't know if he is top clean sheets now, but I think he could be.
Do you think that's just a general thing for keepers? Their work goes under the radar because they're not the goal scorers, not the match winners, but what they do is actually match winning moments.
Yeah, they do, and I think we've got that. We're fortunate to have probably the best one in the world at that. To be honest, I mean, there is other keepers in the world that are close to Alisson in terms of the shot stopping and stuff like that. But I think as a collectively all round goalkeeper, they're coming out, getting the ball, just closing that space down. I think there's no one better in the world than him. And I think, there's just certain moments in the season that I'm trying to like think of some to like use an example of, but I can't really think of some off the top of my
And
head.
going back to also the PSG one in Champions League, also the obvious one in terms of the whole game. I think he had an incredible game against Bournemouth in that vital win. We talk about the goals I think Salah got the goals in against Bournemouth, but then he in net was sensational.
Yeah. It's just like things like that, like the clean sheet 2-0 win, like that goes a bit under the radar. Like oh, yeah, obviously I know he's got.
It's the match winner. Yeah, it's the match winner, does it?
And he's won he's practically won his matches like Alisson. The PSG game was like just a sort of like showcase of how good he is. The shots he was getting, the saves he was pulling off. It was.
They probably save off constantly. It's just not as many in one match because we don't have to rely on them in one match as much as that. We just have to rely on them a lot in that match. But it does saves like this, and especially one-on-ones. The amount of one-on-ones he saves, the amount of saves is the amount of points is saved us over the seasons for one-on-ones. Especially when our defence were crumbling, our midfield were crumbling. He saved a lot, and he's done it again this season. There's many times been one-on-one and saved. I can think of Callum Wilson.
Yeah.
Against Newcastle midweek when we beat them, as one of our best games in recent months. There's a few one-on-ones they saved this season, and it does go under the radar because, like I said, keepers do not get the highlights that they should do. But unless it is a game like PSG where they have to rely on him, then he gets his flowers. But the flowers should be for other games as well.
A big moment for you for Alisson this season was when we got injured at the start of the season. Everyone was like, "Oh, people seem to gloss over the fact that we lost our first choice goalkeeper at the start of the season, pretty much, and he was out for 2 months. And as soon as he come back in, he just was, hit the ground running.
Like he's not been away, yeah.
And it was just like he'd never been away, and for someone to come back in and just be that good, it's not really spoken about because he's a goalkeeper. I think they don't get the credit, goalkeepers, as much as they should, but he's been phenomenal.
Reece, Alisson, Becker. Is anyone above him in top 5, do you think? Is there anyone else that can possibly push him out?
I was debating. I was thinking in my head that the only other name, but you already mentioned, was Konate, but I think Alisson edges it. I think Konate is the only one who could maybe, because I think before his injury, at times he was performing at a level that was even higher than Van Dijk, which is saying something. I think that first part of the season is what
sensational.
What kind of steamrolled us to the league, because at the back, then both of them were like just colossus. It was kind of like weren't really conceding many chances. They're both athletic. They're both comfortable on the ball. Both could read the game quite well. When he came back from his injury, because you could see he wasn't fully ready. That's when you could kind of see performances started to drop a bit, and then sometimes he does have that bozo moment. But I think with Ali, it goes under the radar how much points a season he kind of saves us. And if you want to win a league, a top goalie kind of ends up saving you, for me, 10 to 15 points. I think a lot of the time, because of the level we're used to Ali being at, similar to Van Dijk, people kind of just look at it as normal. Whereas you can look at a team like Chelsea, or you can look at a team like United, and their two goalies are not great. You can see the amount of mistakes they make. It's just we kind of got to count ourselves lucky that we're kind of fortunate that we have a goalie of Alisson. And obviously, I know he sometimes picks up injuries, and Kelleher has played his part, but you kind of can see the way he reads the game, the amount of saves he makes. And if you look at how we play, there are times we can see chances, but because we don't concede, or Ali's kind of helped us out. You're not thinking about it too much. So like, oh, we won the game, especially that game against PSG. Even though we went out, I think that game at their ground where they dominated us, how he kind of kept us in the game, how he was under pressure for majority of that game. I think he's very commanding as well. I think he's another one we're kind of lucky to have, similar to Virgil, where when he kind of came in and Virgil came in, then you kind of knew, yeah, it's not just top four now. We're going to be challenging for leagues and Champions Leagues regularly, because they're just two top players. So I'm going to go with Ali. Yeah.
Just going on Konate for a second. This guy wanted him first choice at the beginning of the season. It was Quansah.
The funny thing is, I think deep down he was always Slots. I think Slot kind of did that. He's kind of more trying to get something out of Konate, I think.
But then that halftime sub, that was it. We saw. I don't know if it pissed off Konate, but for that first two, like I said, the first 2 months, for me, it was better than Van Dijk. Obviously, Van Dijk been better throughout the season, but he was absolutely sensational, Konate, that first 2 months. And yeah, as much as I think Konate's been brilliant this season, especially the first 2 months, like I just said, for me, I think I agree with you guys. Alisson Becker should be top 5. Again, his saves and his moments go under the radar because it's a keeper's job. Could be a keeper. You get all the pain for letting a goal in. You're at fault, but then you get no praise when you actually save matches. That's just a keeper's life. But we've got the best in the world, so
I've
wins the points.
Sorry, I've never known a keeper of like modern times that like people praise him so much, like at Alisson and stuff like that. I like people so confident in him, like not just at Liverpool, like other fan bases. I've never like known a keeper of like modern times to be like that. Neuer's obviously past his prime now, and obviously but like this last 10 years, not really. Courtois had his moments and stuff like that.
He's always had comparisons to other keepers, but they've never lived up to it long term. Like Edison, it was Edison Alisson, wasn't it, for a while? And Edison was up there with Alisson for a good few years.
Yeah.
But then it's sort of like it's pitted out a little bit, and it's just like Alisson's on his own now.
Yeah. He's just a colossus, as you like.
So, order top 5: Salah. So we say Salah, Van Dijk, Gravenberch, McAllister, Alisson. What order are we going in? So we'll go for number 5 first. And we all agreed on Alisson Becker for number 5.
I'll go McAllister number 5 because I just think Alisson, like say, Reece said, and he's right, saying 10, 15 points a season, and it's true. Not a lot of people do that.
Reece, what do you think?
No, either McAllister or Ali, but yeah, I'll probably say McAllister. Ali, I'd put 4th.
Yeah. Ali 4th. Now it's Ali 4th.
Yeah.
See, I would have gone Alisson 5th. I wanted McAllister 3rd. I just think of the whole course of the season, I think he's been better than Gravenberch.
Yeah.
But yeah, if it goes to majority, then Gravenberch could be 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
For you guys, top 2, who's winning it?
It's got to be Mo, hasn't it? it's just
Reece.
I forgot who the second one was. Who's the second one?
Virg.
Oh.
So I'm saying Mo. So is it going to be unanimous here for number 1?
I know most are going to say Salah, but I'm going to say Virgil for me.
The majority, as we did in the first 3, Mo comes top of our top 5. Let me know your top 5 in the comments. So our top 5 is 5th place is going to Alexis McAllister, 4th place is going to Alisson Becker, 3rd Ryan Gravenberch, 2nd Virgil van Dijk, and number 1 the Egyptian King Mohamed Salah. Get us in the comments your top 5 Thank you for watching. Make sure you do smash those likes, get your comments in, subscribe to the channel, and we'll speak to you all very, very soon.